morning, and welcome to A Healthier You. I am your host, David Christopher, with my co-host, Fawn. And this morning, as we do every Saturday morning, we're going to talk about ways of making you healthier. Good morning, Fawn.
Good morning, David. What are we talking about?
I thought it'd be a really good idea to get back to basics, and talk about getting started.
Getting started?
Yeah, as preliminary to that, I thought it'd be a good idea to explain a little bit about what we're all about at the School of Natural Healing. You know the old adage of you give a man a fish, you fed him for a day. You teach a man how to fish, and you fed him for a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're doing at the School of Natural Healing. We don't want to just throw you a few fish here and there, nor do we want to sell you fish. What we want to do is teach you how to fish. Now, that's pointing out the fact that we want to help you learn how to do it yourself. We don't want you dependent on us. We don't want you buying from us. What we want you to do is you be the source of knowledge on natural healing. That's what it's all about. I'll tell you, we're really disliked by the fish salesman. What we want to do is, at the School of Natural Healing, train you to totally take care of your family and yourself, and know when to seek professional advice, when to go get the professional help. That's what it's all about. And so that's why week after week here on the radio show, and we've been doing this for 13 years, we tell you things that are going to help you not use us. Isn't that amazing?
We're talking our way out of a business.
We're trying to work ourselves out of income. Well, that's what it's all about. We're really not in it for selling fish. We're not in it for selling herbs. We're in it for teaching you how to make yourself better so you don't need us. You don't need the herbs. You don't need those things. And one of the best ways to do that, and we've been talking about this every week, is proper diet. Do you know, if we really just wanted to sell you herbs, herbs to make you better because you're sick, then we wouldn't teach you how to stay healthy. And that's what it's all about. So, back to basics. Fun. We can tell people how this type of food is better than this type of food, but still, people are over here eating that type of food. So what do?
Well, we have to start. First, we have to make a decision that we want to do something different. And after you make that decision and you really feel strongly about it, then you start making changes in your diet. Is that what you want me to say?
Yeah.
I'm not sure where you want me to go with
Well, and that's a good place to go. Basically, we want to change. But most people aren't going to change the way they need to be. I think these are pretty interesting statistics. This is what typically healthy American diet is. The typical American will consume 756 donuts a year. I don't eat any donuts, so somebody's eating 1,400,
Well, somebody's eating mine, too.
The typical American will eat 60 pounds of cakes and cookies a year. Typical American will eat 23 gallons of ice cream, 7 pounds of potato chips, 22 pounds of candy, 206 of gum, 365 servings of soda pop. This is the average. Like I said, I don't eat those donuts, and I don't drink soda pop. So, again, somebody's drinking over 700 cans of soda pop a year to make up for what I'm not. See? The average American eats 90 pounds of fat and 134 pounds of refined sugar. There's certainly some room for improvement, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
And then here's the other ones. 41% of the population eats absolutely no fruit on a daily basis. That includes Hostess fruit pies.
That's crazy.
82% don't eat cruciferous vegetables on a daily basis. the cruciferous vegetables, the ones that we've been told by the American Cancer Society and, of course, by herbalists, natural healers for the longest time, that help prevent cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And so is it no wonder that cancer is a plague in our country? We don't even do what it takes to prevent it. 72% don't eat vitamin C-rich fruits or vegetables. 80% did not eat vitamin A-rich fruits or vegetables, and 84% did not eat fiber grain food like whole bread or cereal.
Interesting.
It is. And is there any wonder that we have this high incidence of cardiovascular disease, the high incidence of cancer, and now we've been warning this for the whole time we've been on the radio, for the 13 years, that this food pyramid they came up with is going to cause a plague of diabetes.
Which it has.
Yeah, diabetes has gone up tremendously. And if you look at pre-diabetes, then the figures are coming in around 41 million people are pre-diabetic.
That's amazing.
And the amount of them that turn into diabetics is tremendous. Is that amazing? Is that amazing? So there's a lot of room for improvement, and we're not advocating just jumping right off and doing things, 100%, because you know what? Your kids will probably rebel. I remember in our family, we did things gradually. When we first got married, we had standard American diet, and we gradually changed things little by little. Do you remember what was one of the first things we got rid of?
Milk.
Yeah, that's true. We did. We got rid of dairy.
Because I grew up drinking milk.
That's right. And you were eating, almost a half a gallon of ice cream a night.
No,
it seemed like it.
Just a big bowl with Bosco. All
right. But anyway, that's one of the first things we gave up for our health. But that was giving up. But what's one of the first things we changed?
I thought that was a big change.
Remember? Yeah, well, that was. But just something we changed. We didn't stop eating it. We just changed to something better. Remember, someone came over and said, "Do you know what's wrong with Skippy peanut butter?"
Oh, the peanut butter. Okay.
That's one of the first things we changed. We didn't stop eating peanut butter. We switched to a better type of peanut butter. You remember what was it, Adams?
Mm-hmm.
The one that separates. You get it in the grocery store.
Stir it in. Yep.
Yeah, and the oil separates because they don't process it and put the binders and things in. And they don't hydrogenate the oil so it stays solid. So then you have to stir it and put it in the refrigerator, and it's kind of a pain and a mess and stuff. But you know what? It improved our health greatly just by getting off of hydrogenated oils. Because back then, only people in the health industry were saying that there was a problem with hydrogenated oils. Now everyone is saying it. That, for so long they've been saying saturated fats are really bad and polyunsaturated are okay, But now they're saying even worse than saturated fats are trans fats. These hydrogenated oils produce these trans fats that the body has no clues how to process or get rid of. So when these trans fats are uptaken, the body's stuck. And because it has the signal that's already taken the fats up, it doesn't take any more up. So it robs us of the essential fats that we need, but can't be broken down. Trans fats are absolutely horrid, and that's the very first thing that we gave up was hydrogenated oils in our peanut butter. And then we started looking at products and seeing labels and things and such, and that's the next thing we did, was we looked at labels and made sure that we stayed away from hydrogenated fats. You see, you don't even have to go to a health food store. You just look at the label in regular stores. So you can make a transition without totally altering your lifestyle. You can shop at the same places. You just start making wiser choices. So that's the next thing we did. Started getting away from saturated fats and then other processed foods. Then what did we do?
We started shopping more in the produce section.
That's right. Like I said, you don't even have to go to a health food store. You can not change your habits. You can still go to the same place. Just when you go to that place, stock up more on produce than you do on the other things. We're not saying give up those other things right off the bat. Yeah, this is a transition. We're going to transition into a healthier lifestyle. And so you make sure that in this transition, even though you don't change the other things, maybe you've dropped the saturated fats and stuff, but I mean, that's not going to make a difference. You just substitute. And even with dairy, you substitute. And in your regular grocery store, you can find dairy-less cheese and dairy-less products. You're going to find a bigger selection in natural food stores, and that's why they're there. They're getting to be very convenient. So, moving a little bit more towards natural and not totally changing on what we eat, just altering how we buy it, and then adding in the fresh and making sure that at every meal you have fresh food. For breakfast, cut up a grapefruit, section it up, have fresh grapefruit every morning for breakfast. That's a good start,
Well, if you don't like grapefruit, buy some melon or some grapes, or cut up some bananas or strawberries.
There's so many hundreds of different kiwi. I mean, you can have something different every day.
Or it's watermelon, even.
Yeah, you can have something different every day, and you could probably go a month with a different fruit every morning. There's so much out there. And then at lunch, make sure that that sandwich isn't just plain meat and bread.
That's right.
You add the other stuff, and when you do a hamburger, probably the best thing is to put not one thin slice of tomato on, but a couple of great big thick slices. And instead of a little bit of lettuce, a whole bunch. You make it a bigger sandwich. Not just a sprinkling of onions. Put a bunch of onions, because those are very healthy for you.
And slice up an avocado or saute some mushrooms.
Sauteed mushrooms on there, and it's this meat and bread thing. I don't know why how people can do that every day of their lives.
On choir tour, we only go on choir tour like a week, but the kids quite often, they stay with host families, and their host families provide them a sack lunch for the next day, and it's usually a meat sandwich, and they're so sick of them by the time 5 days is over in the tour. They're so sick of these sandwiches, especially the white bread ones.
I can see why so many people are getting on Prozac. The meaning of life is gone.
Yeah.
Bread and meat. So vary that, and boy, I don't know. I don't think I could have ever, growing up, eaten just the bun and meat, But
well, I did.
All those,
I ate really strange.
Yeah, it was a good thing I married you. You'd be on Prozac. But the mustard, the ketchup, the mayonnaise.
I don't
all
like
those
ketchup.
Things. Well, but put something on.
Well, I do. I put some
ranch dressing.
I use the nice mayonnaise from the herb shop. I do a little bit of ketchup, do a little bit of mustard, and I pile on the lettuce and the onions and the tomatoes and the avocado and the mushrooms and the.
See, Fawn just mentioned something that is another nice transition thing. Mayonnaise isn't the most healthy food. Almost all dietitians today are saying get away from the mayonnaise, because it puts on weight. So at the herb shop and other health food stores, what they have is mayonnaise, or what's the other one?
It's got a purple label.
But it's a mayonnaise substitute.
I know, we used to
Vegenaise.
Vegenaise. We used to use mayonnaise, and that's okay, but then we got into Vegenaise, and I like it better.
And the taste is really good.
Oh, it's really good.
So anyway, you're putting the Vegenaise on the sandwich, and you're putting a ketchup that's not so sugary, and you're getting mustard, which I've heard of people totally getting rid of allergies by downing a whole bottle of mustard.
But I can do that. No.
Yeah, it'd be really tough, but I mean, it's a good food for you. Mustard's a good herb. And just because it's processed a little bit, it doesn't mean that you should stay away from it. So, there's so many different things you could put on there. Barbecue sauce, and there's so many things. But that, and then the pickles, and you just have this great big.
I don't like pickles.
Well, some people do. So anyway, so you have this great big sandwich with all these things on, and then there's some meat in there.
Yeah, But,
And then the next thing you transition out is the meat. And they've got some really neat products in the health food stores. Fry pats.
Oh, we like the fry pats.
Boca burgers.
Boca burgers.
Vegetable garden burgers.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got a whole variety of them, and the one that suits your taste the best. But you know what? I like those fry pats because it's almost like the consistency of a hamburger. And with all that other stuff, you kind of lose the taste of the meat anyway.
You do.
And so you just got this thing that kind of resembles meat, and it's really lost in thing. And you really, there's not much difference between, a really good big hamburger with lots of stuff on it and a fry pad in there.
That's true.
You're not going to taste any
Well,
difference.
you know that to be true because I have served those fry pats as hamburgers at teenage parties, and nobody knew the wiser.
Yeah.
So, it's not a problem.
When you have all those other flavors.
And you just don't tell anybody.
Yeah. When you have all those other flavors, you really don't miss it. But if you're eating just bread and meat, you'll miss it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you need to also, instead of a white bun, there's bakeries all over the place in this valley that if you ask them to, they will make whole wheat hamburger buns.
Yeah, they'll do special orders for you. And you know what? If more people would make the simple switch from white processed flour to whole wheat flour, then everybody would be carrying them, and they'd be fresh all the time, and it'd be,
you wouldn't have to special order them.
Right.
But you can special order them, you can freeze them, and then thaw them out when you need to use them. They usually, they'll tell you what a minimum is, usually about 2 dozen, maybe, I don't know. And they're not that expensive.
And if your tastes mean that much, then you can do a simple transition, You can go from white bread to brown bread, which is just colored white bread, really. And then from there to a partial whole grain. And then from there to whole grain.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll really make a lot of difference. We tried with our kids. We were eating what we thought was healthy back at the first. And it was a kind of a mixed whole grain with other things. When we switched to straight whole wheat from that, our kids rebelled.
Yep, they did.
They wouldn't eat it. And you know what we said? Bread's not that important anyway. So if you don't want bread, fine, don't eat it. And you know what? They started eating it, and lo and behold, now they like it. And then they would rather have it than white bread.
And the other thing is, though, is that the wheat bread that we use, I think one reason people don't like wheat bread is because it's so heavy and dense.
Sure.
I have a hard time getting a sandwich down on heavy, dense wheat bread. It might taste good, but I don't feel great afterwards. I feel really heavy and dense. But the wheat bread that we're using, the prairie grain bread, is lighter.
It's just the way they bake it. So you can get it baked a different way. Yeah.
You can get it, and it seems to be lighter and easier to use, and it's just really nice.
But even still, if you go back to think about the whole situation, we're all eating too much food anyway. You take that second and third helping because you didn't get enough in the first helping. It's because you had such empty calories with white bread. And so when you start to get to a heavier bread, then you're getting what you need, and you don't need as much. So you could probably do with half a sandwich instead of a full sandwich because that's bogging you down too much.
On the heavy, dense bread?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, even on the prairie grain bread, half sandwich suits me just fine.
I remember my cousins as we were growing up. To feed them for breakfast, you'd have to get mixing bowls.
For cereal? For
the cereal, yeah. They'd pour their cereal in there. And no lie. And some of those mixing bowls, were big mixing bowls. And they'd eat the whole thing down, and they really still wouldn't be satisfied. But, time to go to school, and so off they go, But you'd never find that happening with a bowl of oatmeal.
Mm-mm.
You don't even need a full bowl of oatmeal. 3/4 of a bowl, half a bowl, and you are like, hey, I've had enough.
Well, especially when you add a grapefruit to that and freshly squeezed orange juice and a slice of whole wheat toast, you're done.
So whole grains really are healthier for you, and it's going to cost you less in the long run because you're not going to eat as much. Mm-hmm. You're going to feel satisfied because you are satisfied. You're getting all the nutrients you need. They say the white bread is fortified, 12 essential, but they're taking 30 or 40 out. And when they process it and they're putting 12 back in, to me, that's a deficit. Well, I think to anybody, that's a deficit. And when you eat foods that are deficient in certain nutrients, the other nutrients can't even be utilized. So you might not be eating it only just to satisfy your stomach, to feel a little better. And another thing that white bread does is it has a high glycemic factor. So when you eat white bread, then your blood sugar goes up. Then your insulin kicks in. And when insulin kicks in, guess what happens? It makes it so your cells will store fat.
Mm.
And then your body, to save itself from becoming the biggest blimp in the world, will then resist the insulin. And what's that called? Prediabetes. 41 million Americans have prediabetes. It's resistance to insulin because you're eating the wrong foods, creating a saturation of your cells with fat, causing the body to block the insulin, causing prediabetes and then diabetes, where you're going to have to inject insulin, to survive. Silly, silly, silly. All you really have to do is change your eating habits and stop eating white bread. Okay? Mm-hmm. Switch to whole grain. It's no big deal. Like we mentioned, do it gradually, and it's going to work. I have so many people call me up and say, my kids won't do it. They rebel. They won't eat this other food. And I'll ask, well, how old's your kid? 6. And I lay it right on the line to them. I say, okay, does this 6-year-old have a job? How much do they make? How much an hour? What's their salary? And, of course they don't have a job. Well, then, who's the pusher? Who's supplying them with the wrong foods? It's you. It's not the kid's fault. It's you. You're the one that provides it. And a lot of times, some of these parents will try to get their kids to change, but they won't change.
That's true.
Mom and dad's got their treats, but they won't give them to the kids.
That's true.
They hide the candy up in the cupboard, and the kids find the candy, and we got the mom and dad's special treat. That's wrong, too, You got to change, not just make them change. So the whole family changes. The refrigerator has only good food in it, They're either going to starve or they're going to eat good food.
That's true. You do, and in order to initiate any kind of change, you have to change your buying habits.
That's right.
If you're buying the same food that you've always been buying, then you're never going to make any kind of a change. You have to start changing your buying habits to reflect the change you want to make. In other words, you don't have a stash of candy someplace. You stop buying candy.
Yeah.
Or if you really want a treat, the panda licorice at the health food store, at Christopher's herb shop. That's a great treat, The fruit leather there, it's a great treat. You don't need to buy it at the grocery store. You buy a different nice treat at the health food store, and then you don't have to hide it.
Do you know, when you refine grains, you're reducing the vitamin content up to 88% of vitamin B1, 54% of vitamin B2, 80% of vitamin B3, 62% of vitamin B5, 84% of vitamin B6, 63% of other nutrients, 96% of vitamin E. I can go on and on and on here. This is amazing that just the refining does that. So yeah, we want to go from partsome foods to wholesome foods. That's the next transition. And hold on to your garters here. The next transition from that, okay? And that's why we're giving you this transition thing, because it's something you work into. But the next transition to that is to get into fresh foods. And you can't just jump from all cooked foods and all processed foods to a raw food diet. It'll probably make you sick, because once your body gets fresh food, it starts to cleanse. And if you do it all at once, you're going to cleanse so fast, you're going to feel miserable. That's why I'll run into people and they'll go, oh, I don't eat fruit because I tried an apple the other day and it made me so sick. If an apple makes you sick, you are so toxic that just that little bit is starting your body to cleanse. Your body goes, I haven't been able to cleanse for so long, and here's a substance that's going to help me cleanse. Boom, you cleanse.
Yeah, but at the same time, you tell people that, and then they think up all these other excuses of why that would not work. But they're the exception to every case. And you ever find those people out there? They're the exception to every case.
That's right. And it ain't the case.
And it's time to step up to the bat and stop making rationalizations and start eating healthy.
Right. One of the transitions that we made was from sweet treats to like dried fruit.
Mm-hmm.
And, that was a good choice. Stop candy, eat dried fruit, because it's really sweet, and it's satisfying, and you get nutrients and everything. But look at this. Taking a raw fruit and just drying it, you lose 73% of the vitamin A, 88% of the vitamin C, 54% of the vitamin B1, 94% of the vitamin B5, just in the simple process of drying it. Just think what you lose when you cook it. Because drying is your best method of doing it. So, from transitioning into better foods, then we transition into raw foods. And this one's interesting. Sprouts. Here's just one example. The vitamin B1, when you take the seed and see how much vitamin B1 is in it, then you measure it against the sprout and even measure it against the plant. Guess what happens? The vitamin B1 content increases 758%. So there's a real good raw food to eat, are sprouts. Let's look at the vitamin B2 content. It increases 1,378% over the seed. The vitamin B3 increases 1,401%, and these are in kidney bean sprouts. That is phenomenal. So if you really, really, really want to save money and improve your health, instead of grinding up seeds and grains, you're going to want to sprout them. And you're going to get more for your money, and you're going to be more satisfied, and you're going to have all the fiber and everything you need to have a good, healthy lifestyle. And then you're not going to need doctors, and then you're not going to need herbalists, and then all you're going to need to do is be healthy. Okay? Well, the herbs are great for helping in that process, But, herbs taste terrible. Some herbs taste pretty good. Those are the ones, you use as beverages, make nice teas out of them. But most herbs taste pretty bad, and I think it's because it's your punishment for not doing these things. Okay, you didn't do this, so now you got to get better by taking a nasty herb. And herbs work fantastic. Don't get me wrong. Herbs are fantastic. They're great healers. They're a way of repenting for your bad mistakes with diet. What we're saying right now is do the diet thing, and then we'll use the herbs to get us healthier, okay, and get over sicknesses. Once you have it, once you've broken those laws of health and you come down with the disease, the foods aren't going to do it for you. You're going to have to use the herbs to get over that and get back on track. And so we do this show every week. We're going to give you more information on the herbs and things, because most of us are not in that other position where we don't need herbs. Most of us are in the position of, whoops, I've really blown it, I need to get better. And the herbs are the way to get better, and we'll talk more about that in the preceding shows. Mm-hmm.
Let's go to the phone lines.
Linda from Springville, good morning. You're on the air.
Oh, yes, good morning. You're right. Herbs do taste terrible. However, they sure do make you well. I remember, David, when I talked to you in the 90s, I don't know, 94, 95, somewhere in there, about a problem I had, and you said, well, you need to take this, but it's not a quick fix. It's going to take anywhere from 6 weeks to 6 months. And I thought, I'm very regimented, so I thought, I'm going to do this. And right about the 3-month mark, I started feeling better. And then by the time it was more than that, and it cured my problem instead of just, taking a drug. And it was really fun. I also believe in what you're saying about starting slowly when you want to eat better. That's what I did. I started with the peanut butter and cut out the margarine. Actually, I went from margarine to butter just because it was a natural product.
Right.
And then when I got dairy out of my life, then of course the butter went too. And it is fun to get well. I do have 2 questions, and then I'll just hang up and listen to your answers. Is there something that can be done about a pinched nerve down the leg? And what can be done for your dog if he has arthritis? And I will hang up and listen.
Thanks for your call, Linda. Appreciate the comment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of people think, just like a drug, okay, I'm going to take this herb and then I'm going to be better. No, not necessarily, you know.
Well, what I like is that so often you talk to people and then you never hear back about how things went.
Yep.
You know, and
so it's nice to hear that Linda was helped.
Yeah, it's always nice to hear what happened, the end of the story.
And, you know, at the 3-month mark. And the thing is like Linda said, it wasn't just a matter of, you know, the problem was temporarily solved. The problem was solved permanently. That's what we're talking about. Don't want to sell you a fish. You know, we don't want to give you a fish. We want to teach you how to fish. We want to teach you how to make your body better so you don't need us. Isn't that amazing? Now, the questions that she had.
Pinched nerve down the leg.
Do you know a regular chiropractor might be able to just get rid of that right off the bat? You know, that's something that isn't long-standing chronic, you know, something that can be easily resolved. If you didn't have it and then you had it, then that's when you'd use a regular chiropractor. Boom, they can take care of it. We're talking when you've had an accident and your cervicals weren't put back into place, and then you're off balance for a long time, and so your whole spine compensates to the cervicals that are off, and then you start building up bony matter and stuff, you know, to compensate, and you get into a really serious situation. You need to go to a NUCA chiropractor. Absolutely. If you're talking about chronic pain, if you're talking about an accident like whiplash and stuff, you need to go to Chris Chapman and a NUCA type chiropractor. But for the pinched nerve thing, a regular chiropractor should be able to take care of that. In
addition to using some BF&C and things like that.
Mm-hmm. If you've got a chronic problem that's been that way for a long time, then you probably need to go see Chris.
Mm-hmm.
But just a simple, you know, pinched nerve, I just see a regular chiropractor. Or you might get yourself one of those. Have you seen those inflatable balls? Well, we've got one at our home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they're an exercise ball. And you can get on that and do some really good stretching and maybe take that pinched, you know, you can correct that spine and get that pinched nerve taken care of. Along with that, we would use the cayenne heat ointment and the BF&C ointment. I guess it's called complete tissue and bone formula now. And massage that into the area, and you're going to get some immediate relief. But you want to unpinch that nerve. And most likely that's going to be done with adjusting the spinal column.
Okay, and she had arthritis with her dog.
This may sound expensive, but, you know, the dog like us is probably getting too many minerals in its water, you know, that are not being assimilated or are being assimilated but not getting rid of, and they're depositing on their joints. And sorry, it's going to cost, but yeah, give your pet distilled water, purified water that doesn't have those minerals in, and then you're going to be able to start getting those minerals off the joints and help with that arthritis.
And to rub in the joints that happen to be sore, you could use the cayenne ointment or the complete tissue formula or whatever.
Sure. To
rub them into the joints of the dog to help give relief.
Yeah. I don't know if we ever told this story on the radio before. Well, we won't do it. Fawn's telling me, hurry, so we'll do that at another time. Are we through with those questions?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then we can go to the next one, which is Susan from Orem. Good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning. My daughter has been a vegan for several years, mostly raw, and her menstrual periods have completely stopped. And I just wondered, in your experience, is that a problem? And I can just hang up and
But you
listen.
say she's really healthy?
You know, she is. She just suffers occasionally from a little IBS and digestive problems, and the doctors encouraged her to include some protein powders and flax oil because I don't think she's getting enough protein. But I think for the most part, she really is quite healthy.
Now, are you sure that the menstruation stopped, or?
Yeah, totally.
Because a lot of times what will happen is that the heavy bleeding that we're so used to in our society, that stops, but the menstruation is so light that sometimes you miss it.
Well, I'll have to ask her. I know it's been sporadic, but she hasn't for like 4 months. She told me.
Is she into athletics and things?
Well, she works out every day, and she's quite thin.
Yeah, a lot of times that'll do it too.
Is it abnormal, or is it okay?
Well, it depends. That's why we asked if she's really healthy. If she's getting all the nutrients she needs and she's working out, she's fine. And the menstruation stopping like that, like I said, it might not be totally stopped. However, if she's not getting the nutrients and she's working out, that may cause the menstruation to stop, and that's a very unhealthy situation.
Okay, so it could go either way, just depending on your health. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, very helpful. Thank you.
All right, bye. Yeah, we can't emphasize more and more that the very best thing you can do is get all the nutrients you can, okay? And you do that by getting fresh juices that'll load you up with the vitamins and minerals that are necessary. Doing the herbs. Herbs don't have a lot of calories. Herbs have a lot of vitamins, minerals, and plant chemicals that help you be better and help you get what you need. So, if you're doing all that, if you're eating raw foods, a lot of raw foods, and you're making sure you've got a variance in your diet and you're getting plenty of protein and stuff, then I wouldn't worry too much about menstruation stopping because it may be there, but you're just not getting all that bleeding. In societies where they're doing raw, it's hardly noticeable menstruation. So, really neat concept. I'm glad she called.
Yeah, it is a neat concept.
Let's talk to Dee from Springville. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, I've got a question about the blood electrolytes. How can you tell if you're having problems with them and you need them replenished? And then how can you do it, more herbally, kind of, or food-wise? And also, if you're low enough that you need hospitalization, how do you recover from the hospitalization treatments for electrolytes?
Very good questions, Dee. We'll talk about that. Thanks for your call.
Yeah, bye.
Well, first of all, yes, you can be tested for it. You can go to a doctor and get tested for that. If you suspect a problem, why not just do what you need to do to correct the electrolyte problem? And yes, you can change that situation. Now, I think one of the best foods for electrolyte problems is grapefruit. And you juice it. Fresh grapefruit juice is absolutely amazing in getting those electrolytes back up. Okay. Sometimes some people are so, radical on a certain situation that they deny their bodies certain nutrients that they need. One of them I'm thinking about is salt. Most people eat way too much salt. Some people don't eat enough. And when you don't eat enough salt, you're going to have digestive problems and you're going to have electrolyte problems. Okay? So we can't be totally fanatical on salt. We do need a certain amount, and it's best to get it in its most natural state and not so highly refined. Where they've taken and turned it almost to a liquid to get all the impurities off, what they call impurities, down to a basic chemical. Well, we weren't meant to use basic chemicals. We were meant to use salt. Salt tastes good to us because it's something that's essential to our system, and we're not going to be able to get it in most of the plants. We can get it from meat because whatever that meat was ate something that was salty. Okay. But our best bet is to make sure that we don't get deficient in anything. And yes, we do need salt in our diet. You can't be totally salt-free. You can reduce the amount, because like I mentioned before, I'll say it again, most people eat way too much, but there are a few people that don't get it, what they need. And when you get dehydrated and the electrolytes are off and you pass out and the ambulance comes, what do? They hook you up to a saline solution. You know? So, hey, we can do that ourselves. Let's make sure we're getting all the nutrients we need. You know, and you don't have to eat a lot of salt. You know, there are some things that will produce the sodium you need. Celery, you know, there's some things. But really, salt tastes good to us because we do need some.
We do, but the problem a lot of times with salt is people have a plate of food in front of them and immediately reach for the salt shaker and dump more salt on before even tasting their food.
And those people are going to be electrolyte imbalanced with potassium.
Yes.
See, and I think that's one of the biggest problems out there are people don't have enough potassium, you know. And where do you get potassium? From produce.
Well, you know, and that's what I guess the point I'm trying to make also is that our whole program, it was talking about getting started and being in transition. So part of your transitional period here is to taste your food before you salt it and see if you need to enhance it with some salt.
Sure.
A little bit of salt. Sometimes food needs a little enhancing, certain foods.
Sure. I think that's the way it is.
But you have to try the food first to determine that factor. You just can't assume that it needs salt before you taste it.
You put salt in your soil, you won't grow plants. And so plants don't take up salt. It's something they don't use. And so you got to get it from another source. I liked Joel Wallach's analogy there. You know, because all these people are saying, well, how much salt can we have? How much salt can we have? You know, he says, all right, let's look at this. You know that you're going to lose your cattle if you don't put a salt lick up. Okay? Now, is the FDA there making sure those cows don't take any more licks than they should? No, they're not. But sometimes cows are smarter than us. And they take what they need and then they leave it alone. You don't see a cow out there licking that salt lick all day long, like people are sitting there eating potato chips all day long.
It's true, sitting on the couch.
Sitting on the couch, eating potato chips all day long. Now, okay, there's a big difference. So we need to take care of our needs and not our greeds.
That's right. That sounds good.
We need to stay balanced. And if you're eating produce and stuff, you're going to stay balanced. You're going to have those electrolytes in there. You want to make sure that you're taking plenty of liquids in, so that you don't become dehydrated and sweat it all out, you know? So take care of business. You know, the Neanderthal man, you know, didn't have all these regulations and health classes and stuff. He knew what he needed to do. If he was thirsty, he drank. If he was hungry, he ate. If he needed to eliminate, he eliminated, you know?
But you know, that's exactly what babies do today.
Yeah.
Really it is. We train them to do something different.
That's right.
We train them to eat wrong or to not eliminate when it's the natural urge to, and to not drink enough water when that's what they're craving. We give milk instead. That's just,
or soda pop.
And that doesn't satisfy a thirst at all.
Yeah, milk or soda pop or Kool-Aid or,
yeah.
You know, who knows what they give babies, you know, but you know what they need is mother's milk, you know. And then as they get a little older, they crave water. And if you give them something else, you know, then you change their taste, just like you said.
Mm-hmm. We
ready on the next one?
Okay, we have another phone call.
Karen from Payson, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I have two questions. One, you just sparked my question by mentioning babies need to be breastfed and then go to water. And I was wondering how long you recommend that a baby nurse before they're weaned. And
About 18 months.
I thought so, because we have somebody that says, a year, you know, it's time to, with, you know, 2 weeks, every 2 weeks, cut down a feeding. And I'm thinking, I think they should go longer than that.
Yeah,
they're not eating that well yet.
And Karen, you know, it's interesting. Karen, you know, it's interesting that babies tend to stop nursing all by themselves.
That's what I was saying, too. And I'm thinking, am I making sense or am I just making this up?
Yeah, you're making sense.
Okay, I'll tell them that. And then the other question was on water softeners. Is it good to use salt and potassium to soften our hard water here?
Absolutely.
Okay. It doesn't hurt us to take in that whatever we get.
Well, you might want to put a filter after that.
Okay, we do.
We just buy distilled water. We get Mount Olympus delivering to us, and monthly, and they just bring us all the distilled water we want.
Okay, well now would you give a recommendation on where we might do? We just go to the grocery store and buy it, but even for showering and everything, I wondered, is that okay?
Yeah, but as far as water is concerned, they got it really inexpensive at the herb shop.
Okay.
You take your container in there and fill it up, and it's fairly inexpensive.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Well, thank you.
All right.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, bye.
Bye-bye.
I love this field. I love this field because you can become totally independent. You don't even have to be dependent on buying from the herb shop. We teach you how to go find it yourself out in the wild.
Can I just give a quick
free medicine?
Can I give a quick example?
Sure.
Just last week, we were so involved in trying to get ballet recital going and stuff, and I was backstage during the recital, and lo and behold, a little girl was having a bloody nose, and she didn't know what to do in costume. So what did I say? I said, well, are you up to taking some cayenne pepper? And I whipped out some cayenne from my purse, put it in a glass of water, and gave it to her. She downed it, so she came back for a second glass. And then she was ready to go back on. This was so amazing.
Cayenne stops bleeding. These types of things you're going to learn at the School of Natural Healing.
And another girl twisted her ankle. I whipped out my sensei from my purse, smeared it all on there. She was ready to go after intermission. It was amazing. It was wonderful.
Right. You're going to learn this at the School of Natural Healing, so call us, 489-4254. We're going to do it again next week. Until then, be happy. Have a healthier you.